Hello artist, welcome to another video. If you're new here, hi, welcome. My name is Irit and I'm an intuitive artist based in Austria in Europe, and on my channel I share my artsy adventures. Today, as you can see, we are kind of starting in the middle of things, but I still thought this would be fun to share. So this is just me having fun painting around, and I will do my best to share with you what I'm doing and the supplies that I'm using. But if you have any questions, if I missed something, if you want to know about a specific product or color or something, then please leave me a comment below and also add the timestamp so I can see exactly what you mean. Here I'm working on two pieces of these kind of very loose abstract florals, which is one of my favorite things to paint. And you can see I am at the stage of adding some details. I already have, I guess, probably like 90% of what I'm going to add to these pieces. But they're still not done, they're not finished, and I feel like they need more and more. Now, I have to tell you, I think this will probably help explain some of my decision making and maybe some experiments or things that I'm doing. Maybe you are screaming at the screen, stop messing with things, call it done now. I have to tell you, these were somewhat experimental for me. I have painted probably hundreds of kind of loose florals in watercolor, and then, you know, a handful, maybe a couple of dozens in other media. And I feel like I'm working through my favorite process, favorite colors. Not that, you know, I want to do the same thing over and over again, but I kind of want to find my unique process and kind of favorite things that I can still vary from painting to painting, but also a lot of stuff that I can rely on because I know I love it and I enjoy it. And so these to me are still kind of experimenting. Where is that line? I always struggle with watercolors. It's very easy, but I also find it easy to do with other mediums. I struggle not to overwork my paintings and kind of know where to stop. But sometimes you have to find that place by going too far. And then you can say, okay, that was too much. That was unnecessary. But you do have to cross that line, at least for me. There are certain things you can learn from other people's experience, from your own experience. But then there are things that you really have to kind of mess things up yourself many, many times until you figure out what is working for you. That is at least my experience. Now, you see me adding things on top, and I just want to talk about the first layers. The first layers here are done with acrylic paints with a brush, and there is a dark background, which is something that I found I enjoy, and I have a video dedicated to kind of exploring which colors work well for me as the background. And what you see in this video, like the two pieces that I'm working on, were the winners. So this one, the background is Prussian blue. I'm using the Lucas version, but I've recently purchased the Flash Paints version, which is completely opaque. And I will talk about what kind of paints I'm using very soon. So that was one winner. And then the other one was this kind of dark turquoise. And looking at the screen right now, I feel like the other piece just speaks a little bit more to me color-wise. So we'll see. Again, I don't want to, you know, start every painting exactly the same way and just paint the same thing over and over. But I have found in my watercolor journey that I really enjoy having a lot of kind of go-to colors, strategies, tools, you know, order of things. And I want to get to that same place with acrylics. So the paints, acrylic paints, I mostly use Flash paints. Those are vinyl paints, and they are made in France. The reason that I use them is because I absolutely love their consistency, the color range. A few colors I have to add from different brands, but most of all I can manage with their colors, which is a big thing for me because I'm very color is super important to me. But not only that, I have this kind of love-hate relationship with mixing my own colors. Sometimes I enjoy it. Sometimes I want things to come straight out of the tube as I like them. But I tend to like tertiary colors, and those are not always available. Like every brand has, you know, their primaries, their secondaries, but the tertiary ones are sometimes a little bit harder to find. And yeah, and with the flash range, I feel like I have a good selection. And then with some additions, like you see on the screen, those very bright pinks that I will talk about. So that is my color of choice. Besides the color range, the formulation is beautiful. These are matte paints. There are several brands of matte paints on the market, but for me in Europe, this one is the best and the most like readily available for me personally. Yeah, that white didn't work for me. So that is my go-to color type of paint. And then after doing those first layers, I can't remember here if I started with the greens or if I started with the florals. Whatever it is, it's a lot of fun. And after I put down my main elements, I like to go in with a few other mediums to add some details. And now you see me adding some details with acrylic markers. These are the Molotov or Molotov, I'm not sure. Actually, someone told me it's Molotov. So I'm going to stick with that because it's like the cocktail, so I can remember that. These are acrylic markers. There are several brands of acrylic markers on the market. I have a dedicated video to these. In my experience, these have brought me joy, and they are more reliable and the colors are prettier than other brands that I have tried in the past and never made it to my go-to art supplies. Only the Molotov have, and I think they're the best. And on my dedicated video to that, some of you also wrote that you've also tried other brands, and for you also the Molotov ones are the best. So that's my experience. I absolutely love them, and I use them on everything. And I can tell you that before I had them, I had acrylic markers and I never used them, like hardly ever, and definitely not on everything. So I love them. And then the great thing about the flash paint is that I can also use pastels and pencils on top of it, and it looks beautiful. And there is just something so enjoyable about that. I'm very tactile, and just like the joy of combining these media together, just the way that the pencils go on top of this paint, it just brings me joy. What can I say? And so I love using pencils. My favorites are the Prismacolors. I love their formulation, like how pigmented and creamy they are. And in my opinion, there is no other brand out there of pencils that does color as well as Prismacolor. I find their colors to be the most vibrant, just the prettiest from all of the other pencils that I've tried, including more expensive pencils and pencils that are considered to be of superior quality. Yeah, I don't know about that. I know how I like to use the paints, and for me, Prismacolors are my choice. And then close second, just because of color range, are the Derwent drawing pencils. These are the ones that have like this very warm brown barrel. I absolutely love the formula of these. They're so creamy and lovely, but you know, they have a very, very limited color range. If you're into kind of muted earthy tones, the Derwent drawing pencils are glorious. But yeah, so I combined them with Prismacolors just because of the color selection. Okay, and here you can see what I mean about experimenting. I decided this was a bit too dark and I wanted to basically make the background lighter. And I don't know if I like this. I think I prefer, there's something about that dark, intense background that just makes this feel really rich. And so I think in my next paintings, I will stay with that background. But, you know, you have to try and see, because I tend to gravitate toward very light and airy colors. I like to have a lot of white and a lot of white space in my paintings. And so I was actually a little bit surprised, and I'm not hating what I'm seeing on the screen. I actually painted this a few weeks ago, but I'm recording the narration now at the end of September. So I do feel like I'm looking at this with a little bit of like fresh eyes. It's a little bit new to me because I have the memory of an ant, and not to like insult ants, but I assume maybe they have good memory. I have the memory of a piece of toast. So it's like watching something new here happening. Yeah, I'm not sure how I feel about this. I definitely know, because I've painted a lot of like loose florals, I'm not sure I like the whole flowers in a vase thing. Sometimes I paint that, but I feel it's more of a like, okay, I don't know what to do next, so I'll paint a vase because that's what a lot of people do. I don't know. In my watercolors, at some point, I stopped painting vases and just painted like loose florals, and that worked for me. So I'm not sure about acrylics. Yeah, we'll see. Anyway, there is about a minute to go in this video. What was the final conclusion? I really don't know. I guess I should probably add some pictures of the finished for now paintings. As I said, I wasn't super attached to these. It's more of an experiment because I love painting colorful flowers and I love using these mediums and I really enjoy that dark background. So I think I will be painting more of these. I felt free to take risks and see what works and what doesn't. And a lot of things don't work. But, you know, if you don't try it, you'll never find your own voice and kind of signature style if you're just following other people's tutorials. So you have to kind of take risks and try things and see what feels like you. And I don't know what this feels like. So let's take a look at these pieces. This is an incredibly important part of the process, and the goal here is to identify what is working and what I want to keep on doing, and then what is not working and I need to change. And so if I say negative things, it's not because I'm, you know, being hard on myself or anything. I'm just trying to get better, and I think this is essential. So I always talk about the positive because obviously there are certain things here that I personally like, and then what I would like to change. So what I like here are the colors, and this in both pieces, I think I really enjoy them. I have to kind of think a little bit about composition. I think the composition of this piece is stronger than the one in the next one. And so I would like to maybe make a mental note or keep this as an inspiration piece. I definitely like that turquoisey dark background. I think it's really fun and it adds a lot of like richness and depth to the whole piece. I don't know if it feels like me just because it is quite dark, so I have to kind of figure that out because the whole white around the edges definitely doesn't work for me. I don't think it looks good. Maybe there's a different way I can do that, but yeah, this is not working, and I definitely preferred how it was looking before. And I should also put these in a frame and kind of see how I feel about them framed, because sometimes that makes a huge difference. I like here the pink flowers, and then I also like these orangey flowers. Oh, I did want to mention about the pinks that my favorites are the Holbein regular paint, not their acrylic wash, just their regular heavy body paint. They're luminous colors. My absolute favorite is the luminous rose. If I could just have one, that is the one I would get. But also the other pinks, the opera and violet, are also really fun to use, and they are matte for some reason. The other colors, I think the ones that are not luminous in the Holbein range, the regular heavy body, are not matte, but for some reason these are. I guess it has to do something with the pigment. So here's the second piece. Definitely what I like about it is the richness of the dark background. Again, the colors, these are just my colors. It makes me so happy. Those pink flowers and those like blazing corally flowers. They're not red and they're not orange. They are just like coral loveliness. I think the composition here is not as strong. Not sure exactly what, but it's just the other one works better. And I think I also prefer the color I used for the background in the other one before I covered it in white. But I do still like the use of Prussian blue. I probably want to apply it thickly because I don't like the area, as you can see around the perimeter. You can see where it becomes a little bit more transparent. I don't like that. I like it really, really intense, deep, dark, and opaque. So mental note. And then I do feel like in the orange flowers, I could add more highlights because there's a lot of just like mid values there. So I hope you enjoyed this video. If you have any questions, leave me a comment, and I will see you soon in another one. Take care. Bye bye.